So, wouldn't it be just wonderful if wishing did make it so? Wouldn't our lives just be so much easier? I mean, we're practically raised that way. Every birthday we have a cake, and on it are some candles, and what do? We wish. If we lose an eyelash, we hold it between our fingers, and we wish. And even that eminent philosopher, Jiminy Cricket, I know you all remember him, said, all we have to do to make our dreams come true is wish upon a star. Remember that? So we know the universe is an abundant, flourishing place that is just waiting to co-create with us for our greater good. We know that, don't we? So why can't I just wish it? Why can't I just say, I wish for my good right now, right here, right in front of me? Wham! There it is. Well, it's not the way it works. Sometimes we have to ask ourselves, why is co-creating so hard? So that's what I'd like to explore with you today. I'd like to explore the power of belief. Now we know that the universe is knocking at our door, waiting to bring us lives of joy and peace and abundance. We are made of it, and we are in the flow of it. So what stops us? Well, I think the challenge for us is that sometimes we just get in the way. We just make it difficult to connect with the universe, to unfold for us the extraordinary lives that we can have. Do you ever sometimes feel that? Sometimes we just get in the way. So Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, taught that we are surrounded by a power for good, a power greater than I am, a power greater than you are, that we can use in everyday life for everything. Just kind of breathe into the energy of that for a minute. A power that we can use in everyday life for everything. Now, we talked about that a couple weeks ago when we explored the truth that each of us is an individual expression of spirit creating as us. Each of us is a manifestation of spirit creating through us individually, because that's the only way spirit can create on earth. Because we are made of God, we are of the same infinite nature, we are of the same infinite mind, and we exercise the same creative power. When we place ourselves in alignment with the one mind, with spirit, we keep our channels open for the flow of benevolence, joy, and good to come through us and to us. Remember I said last week, 2 weeks ago, about just keeping our pipes open? So we can channel the good of the universe through us. We've all had that feeling. Isn't it a wonderful feeling? We call it being in the flow. Isn't that what we call it? Because that is exactly what it is. As the energy of the universe moves and creates through us, we are fully engaged and we are totally present, watching and participating as the universe creates and our greater good unfolds. Now we see this. We see it often in the expression of beautiful artists, in the unrestrained joy of children playing, in the experiences we have of sitting down at a work we love and getting up 3 hours later and wondering where the time went. That is being in the flow. In the Tao, they call this effortless action, or wu wei. When you act in harmony with the universe, the natural flow of the universe, it joins you. It carries you along. You achieve your goals with action, but with effortless action. No work is needed. The universe supports your action because you are acting in its flow. You are using your inner spirit to connect with divine mind and act in the flow of the universe. The image I have is, imagine being in a boat on a stream. You don't have to work to continue to flow downriver. You just flow. Now we strive to achieve this effortless flow in our own lives, don't we? Living in the flow brings us joy. It enables us to live in gratitude, and it also inspires us to reach out and connect with others in profoundly meaningful ways. Isn't this what we mean when we talk about an abundant, well-lived life? When you sit in the silence by yourself and you ask yourself what you want your life to look like, isn't that very close to the picture you see? An abundant, joyful, grateful life. So, Our daily practices help us to live in the flow of divine mind as an open channel for the good that the universe is waiting for us to simply open up and accept. It's not work. We are made of God. All we have to do is let that power connect with us and accept it. New Thought teaches that our thoughts have energy, life, and impact. They impress upon divine mind, creating whatever energy we send out into divine mind. In New Thought, we learn about the power of our thoughts. We studied that a couple weeks ago. Now, this carries a potential risk. What is that risk? We're so familiar with the idea that our thoughts invite results into our lives. What happens? If you're like me, sometimes you become a little nervous about your thoughts, don't you? It's like, oh my God, I didn't know they were that powerful. This came up the other day. I was listening to a lecture on the science of mind, and after the lecture, there was a question and answer period. And there was a woman who was very worried. She raised her hand and she said, I've just lost 2 jobs. Does this mean that I'm thinking wrong? I mentioned to a friend of mine the other day that one of my themes this year was going to be how we deal with challenge and pain and loss. And she said, oh my God, don't even go there because who knows what it's going to invite into your life. And so I got thinking about that. I thought, do all our thoughts raise a response from universal mind? Do all our thoughts raise a response? And I thought that can't possibly be. Because think about it. If all our thoughts did that, there would be a lot fewer drivers on 400 around 6 o'clock. They'd all let us in when we signaled. We would never get another call from a solicitor or a bill collector. And all our kids would do exactly what we said, and at the end of it, they would thank us for our wisdom. I don't know about you, but I'm not holding my breath. The good news is the universe does not jump every time we think a thought. So let's just take a breath and relax. I actually did some research because, you know, I love doing my Google research. So I researched how many thoughts do we have. Yes, this is how I spend my time. I found that we have 50,000 to 80,000 thoughts a day going through our head. That's a lot of random thoughts. Our monkey minds are just churning all the time. This is why meditation and prayer are so useful. We sit, we still our minds, we breathe, and we let the voice speak to us, the voice that we often cannot hear because it's drowned out by the noise of our daily lives. Ernest Holmes called Jesus the greatest teacher who ever lived, and he frequently quoted Matthew 8:13, in which Jesus taught, "As you believe, so shall it be done to you." Holmes emphasized again and again that this thought, this phrase is simply the key. As you believe, so shall it be done unto you. It is the power of our belief, our conviction, that makes us co-creators with Spirit. It's not the individual random thoughts that matter, but the pattern of our thoughts. The energy that the sum, the pattern and the habits of thought put out. What we believe about ourselves, our lives, our opportunities, our abilities, and our relationships with each other and with God. It's the pattern of our thinking. Look at the story found in that chapter of Matthew, chapter 8. A centurion, a Roman centurion, had come to Jesus asking that his servant be healed because his servant was, as Matthew put it, in terrible distress. So Jesus volunteered to go to the man's home and heal the servant. And the centurion said, "No, that's not necessary. A word from you will cause him to be healed." And Jesus was amazed at the man's faith. And he said, "Go, let it be done just as you believed it would." And the servant was healed, as Matthew teaches, in that very moment. So, let's take a look at this story. What happened here? Was it the action of Jesus that healed? Now, this story is often quoted that way, but let's take a look. Jesus doesn't claim the credit. Instead, he said, "Let it be done to you as you believed." The servant was healed based on the centurion's belief that a single word from Jesus miles away would cure this man. the story could have been told differently. It could have been told in such a way that Jesus was an amazing healer, an extraordinary man, exercising amazing powers that the rest of us could never even hope to achieve. Right? But that's not what the story says. The story says, let it be done to you. Let Spirit do it to you as you have believed. It happened because the centurion's belief combined with the power of Spirit of God to achieve a healing. Jesus told us that all he did, we could do and more. Do you remember that? When we combine our unshakable belief with the power of the universe, there is nothing that can hold us back. Jan Phillips writes, to bring anything new into existence, to be a creator of circumstances, we have to imagine the new, then speak the new, then usher it into reality with the fierce force of our belief in it. The universe responds to our conviction of truth. I know the sun is going to rise tomorrow. I know that when I eat nourishing food, I will gain health and vitality. I don't get up every morning thinking, well, all that stuff worked out yesterday, I hope it's true today. No, I know it's true. I have an unwavering conviction that those things are true. So, I invite you, we have to look, what is it that we believe about ourselves, about our world, about our abilities, about what we deserve, about our relationships with each other. We need to be clear about what we believe, because our lives will reflect it. Ernest Holmes taught that creative mind is like a mirror that reflects our lives, our beliefs back to us. Those who believe the world is an abundant and a loving place will live in that world, no matter what their circumstances are. Those who believe, on the other hand, that the world is a fearful and a threatening and a scary place will live there, regardless of their circumstances. Haven't we known people just emanating negativity who just could not see a sunny day when they're standing in the middle of it? Haven't we known those people? We feel their energy. We know quickly what they believe about their world. Are we surprised when their lives reflect the negative energy that they live in? No, we are not. Now, notice I did not ask if we had met people in negative or challenging circumstances. I have met people in absolutely heartbreaking circumstances who still know that there is joy, they are still grateful, they are still open and loving. Even in the midst of tragedy, they could still see the light, and they knew that it would guide their path, regardless of their circumstances. So we need to be aware of what it is we are thinking. Even though our individual thoughts may not change our lives, they are important because habits of thought become our beliefs. Think about this. Habits of thought become our belief. Thoughts are like nourishment. We take them in, good or bad. We can feed the positive or the negative in ourselves, and we do that by being conscious of our thoughts and, if need be, by changing them. A wonderful tool to practice here is affirmations that are used in many New Thought communities. Affirmations now are not prayers to an external power. They are not simply words that you hope will change your circumstances. They are centering reminders to us of the truth about ourselves and the creative, loving force that surrounds us and supports us. We don't use affirmations as an outgoing prayer. We use affirmations to change us, to convince us, to remind us of what is true. If we are mired in negative thinking, we examine our thoughts and we ask ourselves, is this a truth I want to embrace? Is this nourishment that I want to bring into my life? Is this a pattern of thought that benefits me, that I would like to see reinforced and amplified by the power of creative mind? If not, we affirm the principle of truth that we do want to take hold and that we do want to grow in us. By conscious awareness, we can train our minds to new ways of thinking, literally to new thoughts. This takes awareness and practice. If you train your thoughts to harness the power of creative mind for your benefit, the universe will join with you. The universe is waiting to join with you. It reacts to your habits of thought, whatever they are. As Rainer Maria Rilke said, believe that with your feelings and your work, you are taking part in the greatest. The more strongly you cultivate this belief, the more will reality in the world go forth from it. So, over time and with practice, daily practice, we can develop positive and nourishing patterns of thought, which in time will change our very beliefs about ourselves and our world. We need to do this consciously and regularly, but it can be done. It is this inner change and this inner awakening that places us into alignment with what Ernest Holmes called the power of good. The next step is taking action, because action is required. I live my life based upon what I believe to be true. And if my positive belief isn't quite fully cemented yet, if I'm a little unsure, I act as if it is. I act as if it is. When we live the lives we want to have, in alignment with spirit, in love and compassion, with joy and kindness, the universe responds, returning those positive gifts back to us. I think of it this way. I think spirit calls to spirit. When we are living in alignment with those universal values, it calls forth those universal values of love and compassion and joy and abundance to come back to us. I always think of a story Edwina Gaines tells of a man that she knew who practiced tithing because he believed that tithing keeps the flow of abundance going. But this man did not tithe 10% of his income. He tithed 10% of what he knew his income was going to become. He said, okay, I'm making $50,000. I know in a year I'm going to be making $100,000. So he tithed 10% of that because he knew it was coming. He threw out into the universe his conviction that his good was coming back to him, and his theory was, why wait? He knew that by action he was going to make it happen. Now, I'm not talking that each of us is going to have a Jaguar in the driveway or a life free of stress or challenges or anxiety. That's not why we're here. We're here to learn and grow and serve each other and learn the lessons that we learn in this human form. But I am talking about a life in the flow of abundance because we recognize and we align ourselves with the abundance of the universe which surrounds us, permeates us, and is us. I'm talking about a life connected to our fellow travelers, each of us, a life of generosity and peace and gratitude. Living what we believe, not just wishing, is what makes it so. The reading that Joan read today by W.H. Murray, I'm going to repeat a little bit of it because I just love it and it's important, and I also want our online listeners to be able to hear it too. He wrote, "The moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no one could have dreamed would have come their way." And listen to this. Whatever you think you can do or believe you can do, begin it. Action has magic, grace, and power in it. In his little book, which I encourage you to read, is a great book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It really is a classic New Work text. He tells the story of belief, determination, and action. The story is about a young man named Edwin Barnes. Okay, now Edwin Barnes had a burning desire to work alongside Thomas Edison. in his lab in Orange, New Jersey. He just knew that he was going to work alongside Edison. However, Barnes had two problems. He had never met Edison and didn't know him, and he had no money to get to Orange. Now, Hill points out that these two facts alone would usually be enough to discourage most people. What do? We all have dreams about work we want to do, opportunities that we want to come our way, success we see ourselves achieving in the future. But if it's not happening, what do? We say, well, it's not practical. I have this job. I don't have time. It's too hard. It's just not happening for me. Not Mr. Barnes. He somehow got to New Jersey. He went to Edison's lab, and he announced that he was there to go into business with Edison. Napoleon Hill writes that years later, in speaking of this first